Hello, my fellow library patrons, and welcome back if you're returning, and welcome if you're new. On this channel, I do book reviews, I do vlogs, I do book wrap-ups, and basically anything else that I like to talk about. So if that's something that you're interested in, grab some tea and stick around. Y'all, fall is here. Okay, it has arrived, and I'm so excited. Fall is my favorite season. I love the fall crisp air. I love the sound of the leaves crunching under your feet. The leaves changing color are so beautiful, and it's not too cold. It's not too hot. It's like that perfect sweater weather. Fall fashion is top tier, in my opinion. I love the fall activities too. I love doing corn mazes, pumpkin carvings, bonfires. I'm born in November, so I'm a little bit biased to like the fall season. Guess if I'm a Scorpio or Sagittarius in the comments, I'm curious. Anyway, I think fall is also the perfect time to cozy up on your couch or your bed with your favorite blanket, with your nice cup of tea, and just pull out that perfect fall book. Which leads me into the topic of today's videos, where I'm going to go over my most anticipated Fall 2024 book releases. For me personally, like the perfect fall book, I really like cozy thrillers / cozy mysteries, which is kind of like a subgenre of thrillers and mysteries that is more, quote, gentler. And this could look like minimal on-screen violence or off-screen intimate scenes being described and just not very graphic descriptions when reading these thriller and mystery books. And usually these cozy thriller / mysteries involve like an amateur sleuth, but they can also involve like a pro sleuth in like a small town or small setting, or like just a very condensed confined setting. And an example of a cozy thriller that I recently read is called Where Lost Girls Go by B.R. Spangler. This series is an 11-book mystery thriller series. Let me repeat that. This is an 11-book mystery thriller series. It's a lot of books. I'm only on book number 3, but it follows the main character who is a detective in North Carolina, Outer Banks, and it just follows this detective and the people around her solving mysteries, things like that. And it doesn't involve a lot of descriptions of like the violence and things like that. So like I said, this is a good example of what a cozy mystery thriller book looks like. In addition to cozy mystery and cozy thrillers, we also have paranormal and horror stories or speculative fiction stories, and basically anything that involves witches and vampires are like some other genres that are really good for fall, especially when we have spooky holidays like Halloween and Dia de los Muertos in the fall. These are like top tier. I wouldn't say top tier, but like perfect like fall reads to add to your TBR. Your fall TBR does not have to be limited to these genres. These are just some examples of what I think encompasses the fall vibe. So I already have a very extensive TBR, okay? But I mean, what's the harm in adding a little more? So let's go over some of this year's new releases that I'm adding to my fall TBR. I'm going to start off with September, and in September there are 5 new releases that I am looking forward to. First up, we have An Academy for Liars by Alexis Henderson, releasing on September 17th of this year. This is a fantasy horror gothic paranormal mystery, and it's about Lynn Carter, our main character, who is invited to take the entrance exam for Drayton College, a school of magic in Savannah, Georgia. Lynn is special because she has magic powers, the power of persuasion. She passes the test, grows her powers, and is entranced by the college and her charismatic advisor Dante, who intimidates and enthralls her. She begins to learn more about the college's history and how Dante's tragic and violent past intertwines with it. Becoming increasingly more disturbed, the more she learns, she slowly realizes the ultimate test is to embrace absolute power without succumbing to corruption. And it's a test she's terrified she's going to fail. Sounds very interesting. It has magic, it has mystery, it has those dark academia vibes, maybe a little romance, okay? This author, Alexis Henderson, is best known for speculative fiction, which is basically an umbrella term for any writing about non-realistic worlds. So this could be setting a story in a far future, on an alien planet, or even in our world, but with a distortion of reality. So when you think speculative fiction, think sci-fi, fantasy, horror, magical realism, weird fiction. All of these fall under that speculative fiction umbrella. Some examples of speculative fiction that I've read recently include The Last Tale of the Flower Bride, Mexican Gothic, What Feasts at Night, What Moves the Dead. Things like that are examples of speculative fiction, and also books that you can add to your TBR for fall. Next up, we have Hampton Heights by Dan Coyce, which also released on September 17th of this year. This takes place on one winter night in 1987 following 6 middle school paper boys working in pairs of 2, going door to door trying to sell newspaper subscriptions. Sigmund, who is bused to a white school, is stuck with Joel, a white kid who idolizes black culture. Mark, who's wrestling with his sexuality, joins his secret crush Ryan. Nishu and Al are outsiders. One is a second-generation immigrant, and the other a poor kid in a rich school. The boys will encounter a slew of monsters from werewolves to witches. Funny, thrilling, outrageous, and sneakily beautiful, Dan Coyce's Hampton Heights captures without sentimentality the dreams and fears of teenage boys in a tender horror comedy about camaraderie, bravery, vulnerability, and the terrifying prospect of growing up. Yeah, adulthood, I can tell you, is not the hood that I want to be in. Okay, it's not as fun as you think. Anyway, this really feels like the makings of a Stephen King book. It sounds like a very low stakes, fun read, but still has that very important themes like exploring sexuality, puberty, classism, and race, all in a Midwestern town in 1987. Okay, this next book, I was hooked just by the cover, and the synopsis reeled me in. Releasing also on September 17th. I don't know what's up with all these books releasing on September 17th that I found enjoyable, but here we are. Also releasing on September 17th, we have Such Lovely Skin by Charlotte Bonnet. Such Lovely Skin is about Viv, a chronic liar who spends the summer tormented with guilt about causing the accident that killed her sister. She never told her parents the truth about the accident, so she decides to return to Twitch streaming in hopes that she'll make it big and give her parents money in atonement for her mistakes. A week before school starts, during an offline practice run of a horror game that she thinks would be perfect for her Twitch comeback, an NPC asks for a secret. She figures no harm in telling an NPC the truth about her sister's death. It's only a video game, NPC. In doing so, she ends up inviting a mimic into her life. No one believes Viv because of her history of lying, like a girl who cried wolf. Ash, a cute social outcast whom Viv once bullied, is the only one who believes her. In trying to clear her name and kill the mimic, Viv discovers that her lies have hurt people who never deserved it, herself included. Okay, I have so many questions with this one. How did her sister die? What lies has Viv told? What's the origin of this mimic, and have they cursed anyone else? Why is Ash willing to help the bully that has bullied her? This book also reminds me of films like Truth or Dare or Drag Me to Hell. Basically, where the bare bones of these stories usually follows a person or a group of people that unleash like this ancient evil entity or evil thing or curse or whatever, and then they curse the people forever. So there's usually only one survivor that lives to tell the tale. So this newly cursed group of people or person goes to the survivor to get answers like, hey, what do I do to stop this curse? But usually the survivor's like, no, I survived this. Don't bring this back into my life. So they're initially like, no, I don't want to do this. But then they sometimes, mostly, usually give in, tell them the little secrets, tell them what they did to defeat the curse. But then the survivor usually dies in doing so, which sucks for the survivor. Yeah. But then the newly cursed people then can try and uncurse themselves. And usually the curse is, done so. Sorry. Usually the curse is done so. Or is it? So yeah, I'm curious if this book is like that. If it's not done well, there could be some plot holes and things that just don't make sense, but hopefully that's not the case with this book. Next up, we have Graveyard Shift by M.L. Rio, releasing on September 4th of this year. What attracted me to this title is because this is the same author who wrote If We Were Villains, which is on my TBR, and I'm really excited about and have like a 6-week hold on Libby right now, so I'm just patiently waiting. If the stars align, it'll be released to me during the fall seasons. But yeah, I've heard nothing but good things about If We Were Villains, so I'm excited to read that one and also this new book, Graveyard Shift, by the same author. In Graveyard Shift by M.L. Rio, 5 night shift workers, a bartender, rideshare driver, hotel receptionist, church steward, and college paper editor-in-chief regularly meet at a churchyard and an ancient cemetery. One October night, they discover a mysterious open grave. Who dug it, and for whom? As they follow the gravedigger, they uncover connections to recent strange events in town. This modern Gothic tale, set against an academic backdrop, promises an eerie and atmospheric read. This sounds like the perfect spooky mystery, okay? With an ensemble of different characters. Are they supernatural elements? Are you thinking murder? Are you thinking rituals? What's the vibe here? Whatever the vibe is, I'm excited. All right, I'm back. I had to take a break because my camera died and I had to charge it, and also my contacts were very dry, so I had to take them out. But you probably don't care about that. We're here to talk about books. Let's continue. The last book in September that I'm excited about is The Village Library Demon Hunting Society by C.M. Wagner. That's a mouthful. In this cozy fantasy mystery, librarian Sherry Pinkwhistle, amazing name, known for solving murders, suspects a supernatural cause behind the rising body count in her village. When her cat, Lord Thomas Crowell, also an amazing name, becomes possessed by an ancient demon, Sherry teams up with the town's new priest and the Demon Hunting Society to solve the latest murder and exorcise the demon. This blend of Buffy the Vampire Slayer and Murder, She Wrote teaches a valuable lesson: never mess with a librarian. Those are all the 5 September releases that I am excited about, and let's move on to the 5 releases I'm excited about in October. First up, we have Air by Sabaa Tahir releasing on October 1st of this year. I have decided tangent to talk about this author because she is one of my favorites. Ever since my friend introduced me to An Ember in the Ashes series by Sabaa Tahir, I look forward to every piece of new work that she puts out. I did recently also just buy her book, All My Rage, which won, I forgot what award it won, but it won an award for being a really good book, and so I bought it so that I could read it and check it out. But if you haven't read An Ember in the Ashes, I highly, highly, highly recommend you go pick it up right now. Obviously, after you go finish this video, but pick it up, add it to your TBR, because it is, oh my God. I could rave about the series all the time, but it's just really good, and I feel like everyone needs to experience it for themselves. I really think Sabaa Tahir's writing and her world building and how she writes her characters and their arcs is just so beautifully done. She's also just really not afraid to really pull at your heartstrings and make you cry. She's really not afraid to put her characters through hell, and I say that from experience. Additionally, you can really tell that she puts her time into developing these characters within this world that she's built. That's why I am so excited for Air, because it takes place in the same world as An Ember in the Ashes, following a different set of characters. So this book does take place 20 years after the last events in An Ember in the Ashes series, and it does follow some of the heirs of the original characters. I also hear that we get some cameos from the OG characters in An Ember in the Ashes. According to Sabaa Tahir, you don't have to read An Ember in the Ashes series in order to read Air. How she said she set it up is, you can read Air without having to read An Ember in the Ashes, and you can read An Ember in the Ashes without having to read Air after that as well, which I think is a pretty cool thing to do, because if you just want to enjoy one series or Air the book, which is actually going to be a duology, so if you just want to enjoy the duology or you just want to enjoy the 4-book series, you're welcome to do that without having to, kind of like a Marvel movie where you have to watch 10,000 movies before you can understand this one reference in this one most recent movie. It's pretty neat that you don't have to do that with her books. Okay, now I'm done raving about Sabaa Tahir and her books and her writing. Let's get into what Air is about. Air follows an orphan, an outcast, a prince, and a killer who will bring an empire to its knees. Growing up in Kagari slums, Aiz has her share of suffering. An old tragedy fuels her need for revenge, but it is love of her people that propels her, until one hot-headed mistake lands her in an inescapable prison where the embers of her wrath ignite. Banished from her tribe for an unforgivable crime, Saoirse is a down-on-her-luck tracker who speaks to the earth, air, and water to trace her marks. Destitute, she agrees to hunt down a killer who has murdered children across the empire. All she has to do is carry out the job and get paid. But then she falls for a charismatic and inconvenient fugitive who keeps getting in her way. Quill is the crown prince of the empire, nephew of a famed and venerated empress, but he's loath to pick up the mantle when his aunt steps down. As the son of the most hated emperor in the history of his people, he, better than anyone, understands that power corrupts. When a vicious new enemy threatens the survival of the empire, Quill must ask himself if he can rise above his tragic lineage and be the heir his people need. Doesn't this just sound like a whirlwind adventure? I am so excited and nervous to see what Sabaa Tahir has in store for these characters. Also, fun fact, my friends and I, the ones that actually recommended the series to me, are going to a Q&A event to see Sabatahir for the release of Air in October, and I am so excited. I'm probably going to do a vlog for you guys because I do want to share this experience with you. This is actually my first like author event, so yeah, I'm excited. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube and follow me on TikTok so you don't miss an upload. Next on the list is This Cursed House by Delson Dean, releasing on October 8th of this year. In this Southern Gothic horror debut, a young 27-year-old Gemma Barker accepts a job offer from the Dutchin family in New Orleans. So she leaves her life in 1960s Chicago and the spirit she has always been able to see to work for this family. But the Dutchin family is not what they seem. They are white passing and look down on brown-skinned Gemma. Gemma soon learns that the Dutchin family is under a curse and she has the power to break it. The more she finds out, the more she discovers secrets that bind her to their fate if she fails. Mystery, paranormal vibes, perfect for October. I am really excited to see New Orleans in the 1960s and how this author brings it to life. This author is also of the global majority, and here at Lahua's Library, we are always trying to diversify our bookshelves. Third on the list, we have The Witches of El Paso by Luis Amarillo, releasing on October 8th of this year. In this story, a lawyer named Marta and her elderly great-aunt, Nena, use their supernatural abilities to search for a daughter Nena left in the past. The narrative spans from 1943 El Paso, where teenage Nena discovers her magical powers, to the present day where Marta juggles her legal practice, motherhood, and caring for Nena. As they search for Nena's lost daughter, Marta's own powers awaken, revealing new possibilities and challenges. Witches, magical powers, cross-generational relationships. I mean, what more do you need for this cozy fantasy? I did see online that The Witches of El Paso is like compared to The Inheritance of Orquídea Divina by Zoraida Cordova and La Hacienda by Isabel Cañas. I personally have not read them, but they do sound very good, and if you have read these books and you found them interesting, then The Witches of El Paso might be something that you might want to add to your fall TBR as well. Number 4 on the list for October is The Last One at the Wedding by Jason Rekulak, also releasing on October 8th of this year. In The Last One at the Wedding, Frank Satowski is thrilled but shocked when his estranged daughter, Maggie, invites him to her wedding after 3 years of silence. Upon arriving at the luxurious, secluded estate in New Hampshire, Frank discovers Maggie is marrying Aidan Gardner, the son of a tech billionaire. As Frank tries to reconnect with Maggie and understand her new family, he encounters hostility from the locals and evasiveness from Aidan. Determined to uncover the truth, Frank risks pushing Maggie away forever in this gripping thriller. We got mystery, we got suspicious families, we got estranged relationships, all the makings of a potentially good story. I'm interested to find out why the relationship is estranged, why did she invite him to the wedding, and does this impact his credibility when it comes to him voicing his suspicions? Lastly, for October, releasing on October 15th, we have Januaries by Olivia Blake. Now, I'm going to go off on a little bit of a tangent. My first introduction to Olivia Blake's writing was The Atlas Six. Overall, this book was not what I expected. I did give it 3 stars, I think. It's about 6 magicians competing for a coveted spot in a secret magic organization, but only 5 are accepted. The Alexander Society, caretakers of lost knowledge from the greatest civilizations of antiquity, are the foremost secret society of magical academicians in the world. I think academicians are like academic magicians. Anyway, I read the synopsis and I was thinking, cutthroat, cunning trials. But it's not really what I got. While there were some action scenes, which were pretty cool, it was more like the characters sitting around a big mansion, reading books, conducting experiments, and like talking magical philosophy. And a lot of times they use the archives to develop new magical breakthroughs. I saw it as like one big science project or like one big group project. That's how I saw it, which is not bad, right? That's still pretty cool. Again, it just wasn't what I expected when I was thinking trials. Like I said, I just had a different expectation for the book, and I also thought the writing was a bit convoluted, and I think it took itself a little too seriously. I feel like if the writing in this book was personified, like, you know, as a person, I imagine it to be like a very pompous Ivy League college student that thinks they know everything and like won't stop talking and has to have the last word. I will say that the characters are all unique and some of them are written by design to be like despised and loathed and are very irritating. And not one character is perfect. And I think that's by design. I think that works for the story, especially given the stakes. Like, if you think about it, 6 people are competing for only 5 spots in a coveted secret magic society. Something's going to happen to the 6th person. It's a secret society. They're not going to want the 6th person going out into the world and telling everybody about their secrets. So it's like, these characters are going to have to be cutthroat. So like I said, the characters, the way they're written, are important for the story, and I do think that she wrote them really well. Like I said, there were some good action scenes, there were some really intense moments, and the twist at the end did get me, okay? That it hooked me to the point where I was like, okay, I'll give the second and the third book a try. Even though I rated the first one 3 stars, I am still interested to see where the story goes. With all that being said, I do think that the Atlas 6 would be a great book to add to your fall TBR because it is a really cool, cozy read, I will say, especially if you like the dark academia vibes and a really cool twist at the end. Now back to your regularly scheduled content after an impromptu, no spoiler review of the Atlas 6 that no one asked for. January's by Olivia Blake, releasing on October 15th, is a collection of short stories and novellas. Once upon a time, in a land far, far away, the tutelary spirit to a magical bridge rapidly approaches burnout. Meanwhile, Congress enacts a complex auditing system designed to unwaste your youth. A banished fairy answers a Craigslist ad, a Victorian orphan gains literacy for her occult situationship, and a multiverse assassin contemplates the one who got away. Escape the slow trudge of mortality with these magical ruminations of life, death, and the love, or revenge, that outlast both. Featuring modified fairy tales, contemporary heists, absurdist poetry, and at least one set of actual wedding vows. These stories do sound very unique and compelling, and I'm going into this with 0 expectations because I have learned my lesson the last time. I'm just keeping an open mind here. That's all for October, and now we're moving on to November, my birthday month. Woo woo! Okay, so I did only find one book in November that's releasing that I found interesting, but one better than none. Releasing on November 19th, we have The Jewel of the Blues, written by Monica Chenault Kilgore. The Jewel of the Blues takes place in 1920s jazz era. Lucille Arnetta Love, once a gospel-singing child star on the run with her family, is discovered by young talent manager Marcus Williams. Lucille has always had dreams of making it big on Broadway, so she jumped at this opportunity after 11 years of being on the road with her family. No longer the little girl with the big voice, Lucille now leads Miss Lucille's Black Troubadours. She rises to fame despite the harsh realities of the big cities. As the band faces internal struggles, Lucille's family secret, a decades-old robbery and suspicious death, resurfaces, bringing danger and a quest for revenge from the past. First of all, the setting, 1920s jazz era with a mystery at the center, sounds very interesting. I am looking forward to see how the author incorporates the Black experience during this time in the music industry. This book does remind me of Avery Cunningham's debut novel, The Mayor of Maxwell Street, which also takes place in the 1920s, but this time in Chicago. I'm pretty sure I read that last year and I gave it 5 stars. I do recommend The Mayor of Maxwell Street if you're into the whole period pieces, 1920s, the Black experience during that time, mafia stories, mysteries, the whole shebang. And also having that like Great Gatsby vibe, and also following a main character who is very anti-status quo and is like a very secret journalist. Yeah, very strong-willed too. I really liked The Mayor of Maxwell Street, and I think I'm going to like The Jewel of the Blues. I really hope I am, just because I am finding that I'm interested in reading about the Black experience in certain period pieces. Like there's this one book called The Davenports that is on my TBR, where it takes place in like the 1900s. I can't remember exactly what time period, but it follows, Black main characters in these time periods. I feel like I don't come across these kinds of stories a lot. If you know of any stories, please comment down below because I am very interested in reading more of them. So those are all the books on my most anticipated fall release list of this year. I'm curious to know what's on your fall TBR list. Are there any new releases that you're looking forward to, or are there any books that I mentioned that intrigue you and you want to add to your TBR list? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe and hit that bell button to be notified of any new uploads, and I will see y'all in the next one. Bye!